Welcome to Multiple Choice Question 8 of the 2008 Mathematical Methods Exam 2. In this video, we will be looking at the solution for this question. A reminder that this video is in no way endorsed by VCAA. And now before we move on, I'd just like to point out that the use of a CAS calculator is a really efficient way in answering this particular type of problem. For question 8, we have the graph of the function f with a maximal domain D with the rule f of x equals x subtract 3 divided by 2 subtract x, has asymptotes with one of the following options for its equations. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to use the calculator to rearrange this fraction slightly. On the CAS calculator, go into the main menu. Now the first approach that I'm going to show is to take this fraction and turn it into a proper fraction. So that is that it looks more like the hyperbola rule that you'd be more accustomed to seeing. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in the fraction which is x subtract 3 on the top line and 2 minus x on the bottom line. And we're going to highlight that and go interactive transformation fraction, and we want to click prop frac. And now you can see that it's been rearranged into a form that you'd more easily recognize as a hyperbola. So from the calculator, we can see that f of x can actually be written as 1 divided by x subtract 2 with a negative 1 at the end. And we can now identify, using our knowledge of a hyperbola function, what the asymptotes would be. So this negative 1 here would give us an asymptote at y equals negative 1. And the denominator here, when it equals 0, which is when x equals 2, we'll get another asymptote. So that actually means that x equals 2, y equals negative 1 is the answer. So D is the correct option for this question. Now we'll go back to the calculator and see that there's actually another way we could approach this using technology. So the other way we could approach this question on the calculator is we could sketch it using conics. So because we know that it's a hyperbola, we can go y equals and drag down that initial rule that they gave us. And it does need to be y equals for this to work. And then instead of graphing it in our normal graphing screen, we're going to click on this little drop down here and select the button that represents the conics menu. And it looks a little bit like a basketball court. And then we're going to drag the y equals x minus 3 over 2 minus x down. And it's going to sketch that hyperbola for us. And the good thing about using the conics menu is when we go analysis G-solve, we get a different set of options here to select from. And one of those is asymptotes. So I'm going to click on that. And just down the bottom here, you can see it gives y equals negative 1 and x equals 2, which matches up with what we discussed when we got the rule into a more traditional hyperbola form, which we discussed before. So using the conics menu, we still got the equations y equals negative 1 and x equals 2 as the asymptotes of that graph. From the examiner's report, we can see that this question was really well done, with 86% of students getting this question correct.